Foreclosures and home prices, interest rates, buyer demand, and housing availability. In the next few minutes, I'll do my best to cover these all important topics so we can clarify what's happening and what the experts are saying and what's actually happening in the field. Let's start by saying what most experts agreed on. Today's housing market isn't headed for a crash. However, 67% of Americans say a housing market crash is imminent in the next 3 years. With all the talk in the media lately about the housing shifts and in the market, it makes sense why so many people feel this way. The good news is current data shows today's market isn't nothing like it was before the housing crash in 2008. Back then, mortgage lending standards were less strict. During the lead up to the housing crisis, it was much easier to get a loan than it is today. Banks were creating artificial demand by lowering lending standards and making it easy for just about anyone to qualify for a home loan or refinance an existing one. As a result, lending institutions took much bigger risks in both the person and the mortgage products they offered. That led up to a massive default, foreclosures, and falling prices as we know it today. Things are different, and buyers right now face much higher standards from mortgage companies. The graph below uses data from the Mortgage Bankers Association to help tell the story. In this index, the higher number, the easier it is to get a mortgage. The lower number, the harder it is. The graph also shows just how different things are today compared to the spike in credit availability leading up to that crash. Tighter lending standards have helped prevent a situation that could lead to a wave of foreclosures like the last time. Foreclosures volume has declined a lot since the crash. Another difference is the number of homeowners that were facing foreclosures when the housing bubble burst. Foreclosure activity has been lower since the crash, largely because buyers today are more qualified and less likely to default on their loans. The graph below uses data from ADOM to show the difference between the last time and now. So even as foreclosures ticked up, the total number is still very low. And on top of that, most experts don't expect foreclosures to go up drastically like they did following the crash in 2008. The supply of homes for sale today is more limited. For historical context, there were too many homes for sale during the housing crisis, many of which were short sales and foreclosures, and that caused prices to fall dramatically. Supply increased since the start of the year, but there's still a shortage of inventory available overall, primarily due to years of underbuilding. The graph below shows data from the National Association of Realtors that shows the months of supply available right now. Compared to the crash, today unsold inventory sits at just 2.7 months supply at current sales pace, which is significantly lower than the last time. There just isn't enough homes available in the market at the current prices for the market to crash like it did the last time. Okay, now the second graph, you can see what that entails. You might be thinking, what's happening with home prices right now? The recent changes in home prices are top of mind for many as the housing market begins gearing up for the spring. It can be hard to navigate the misleading headlines and confusing data. So here's what you should know about today's home prices. Local price trends still vary by market, but looking at the national data, according to Natalia Polkovincha, supervisor economist at the Federal Housing Finance Association, explains, quote, U.S. housing prices were largely unchanged for the last 4 months and remain near the peak levels reached over the summer of 2022. While higher mortgage rates have suppressed demand, low inventories of homes for sale have helped maintain relatively flat prices. Month-over-month home prices changes, any declines we're seeing nationally are likely to be very minimal. Also very important to remember that every local market is different. That's why it's essential to lean on an expert for the latest information on home prices in our area. If you plan to make a move in the spring, the bottom line is to understand what's going on with home prices in our market and how they could impact your goals. You need to connect with a professional. We'll be more than happy to connect with you and give you an equity assessment